Welcome, everyone. Ready to explore flow. That exhilarating state where you're completely absorbed in what you're doing, everything else just melts away. We're going deep today with Damon Zahariades' book, The Art of Finding Flowability. Not just defining it, but how flow can change how you work and live.
It's fascinating. So many people think of flow as like a productivity hack, right? But it's so much deeper than that. It's a psychological state when the challenge of what you're doing and your skill set are perfectly balanced.
Not just blasting through your to-do list, but really being present, engaged, even joyful in the task. Almost like when you get lost in a challenging video game, laser focus, time bends, you're driven by the challenge itself, not just winning.
Spot on. But we've got to be careful not to confuse flow with, say, hyperfocus, like a kid glued to a screen, often driven by attention struggles. Flow is intentional, something we can learn to cultivate, to control. And what Zahariades highlights are 7 incredible benefits beyond productivity.
He talks about an explosion of creativity, effortlessly finding new solutions, faster learning, picking up a new language, mastering an instrument, all with incredible speed and ease. And get this, flow even boosts happiness.
Absolutely. And these benefits touch every corner of life. Faster learning happens because flow shuts out distractions, allowing you to dive deeper into whatever you're learning. The brain becomes the sponge soaking up information. And as for happiness, flow creates eustress, that good stress that energizes rather than drains. It's about facing challenges with excitement, knowing you have the skills to meet them. But the most empowering thing about flow, it's universal.
It's not limited to certain jobs or activities. It could apply to anything, from nailing a presentation at work to finding focus while gardening.
Precisely. A surgeon, a musician composing, a chef creating a masterpiece, they all experience flow. It's all about that balance between challenge and skill, no matter the activity. But getting there, not always a walk in the park. The Zahariades calls out fear as a huge obstacle, this sneaky saboteur.
Interesting. I've always thought fear is purely emotional, not something that could block flow.
Fear works on many levels. It hijacks our brains, triggers that fight or flight response. Stress hormones flood the system, diverting attention, keeping us from being fully present. Fear of failure, fear of the unknown, even fear of success. All these anxieties can stop us from getting into a flow state.
So how do we deal with those fears? Do we just try to suppress them, or is there a better way?
It's about conscious effort. Pinpoint what triggers those fears. Are they rational? Then develop strategies like visualization, picturing yourself succeeding despite those fears, rewiring the brain, replacing fear with confidence. Zahariades dives into 4 types of flow, triggers cognitive, environmental, creative, and social, a multi-pronged approach to unlocking flow.
I like that, acknowledging that different things will work for different people. Any standout examples from those categories?
Definitely. Cognitive triggers, that's mental prep, having a clear goal, intense focus, and the right skills. Environmental triggers, it's about your surroundings. A dynamic setting that stimulates your senses, maybe a touch of risk to heighten awareness. Even something as simple as decluttering your workspace. Creative triggers highlight novelty, challenges. Think a musician improvising a melody. Lastly, social triggers, that's about the energy of interaction, maybe collaborating on a project that gets you truly fired up.
So many possibilities. Where do we even begin? It feels a bit overwhelming to try and do it all.
Experiment. The key is finding what works for you. Flow isn't a one-size-fits-all formula. It's about tailoring the approach. But there are definitely some common traps to watch out for.
I bet distractions and multitasking are at the top of that list.
Absolutely. Distractions, they shatter flow, pulling you away from that deep experience. Imagine trying to solve a puzzle while someone keeps shuffling the pieces. And multitasking, that modern-day epidemic, further divides your mental resources, trying to read, watch a movie, and hold a conversation all at once. You won't absorb much from any of them.
So it's about creating an environment and mindset that minimizes those distractions. But what about the internal stuff, self-doubt and perfectionism?
Ah, yes. Those inner critics can really sabotage our flow. Self-doubt whispers negativity, undermines confidence, like a judge scrutinizing every move, preventing you from expressing yourself fully. The way to combat that is recognizing those thought patterns and consciously replacing them with positive affirmations.
And perfectionism, isn't that usually seen as a good thing, striving for excellence? How does that get in the way of flow?
Taken too far, perfectionism becomes this relentless pursuit of flawlessness. You set impossible standards that just lead to frustration and procrastination. That fear of messing up stifles creativity and stops you from fully immersing yourself in the process. Embracing imperfection, knowing mistakes are part of learning, that's crucial for flow. Luckily, Zahariades has some practical advice to tackle each of these enemies.
There's hope for us yet. Are these strategies difficult, or can we actually use them in our everyday lives?
They're surprisingly doable. For distractions, it's about creating a dedicated workspace, minimizing interruptions, maybe using noise-canceling headphones. Multitasking? Techniques like time chunking can help, where you allocate specific blocks of time for individual tasks. Self-doubt. Positive self-talk is key, challenging negative thoughts, celebrating those small wins.
So we know what to avoid, but how do we proactively cultivate flow? Zahariades outlines 10 steps, a roadmap to this state of mind.
It's about creating the right environment. First, develop a pre-flow routine, actions that signal to your brain it's time to focus, like an athlete warming up before a game.
So instead of jumping right into a task, we need to consciously prepare. What kind of routines are we talking about?
Could be listening to music, doing breathing exercises, even a quick walk. The goal is to shift from scattered thoughts to focus. The second step, find your peak energy times those periods when you're most alert and focused.
Makes sense. Align those flow sessions with our natural rhythms instead of fighting against them.
Precisely. Our energy levels go up and down throughout the day. It's biology. Knowing those patterns helps us schedule flow sessions when our brains are primed. Step 3 is all about crafting a distraction-free environment, a sanctuary for total immersion in the task.
So beyond just silencing our phones, we're talking about how sensory input impacts focus. Are there specific environmental things that really boost flow?
Absolutely. Minimizing visual clutter, optimizing lighting, even bringing in natural elements like plants can make a huge difference. Step 4, define a clear mission, a specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goal. That's what gives direction and purpose.
That sounds crucial. Without a clear objective, it's easy to get lost and lose sight of the big picture.
Couldn't agree more. Clarity is key for flow. It gives you a roadmap, guiding your actions toward that specific outcome. Step 5 delves into intrinsic motivation. Find the internal rewards and enjoyment you get from the activity itself.
So it's not just about external motivators like deadlines or recognition, but finding that deeper sense of passion and fulfillment from the task itself.
Exactly. Flow thrives on that inner drive. When you genuinely enjoy what you're doing, flow feels effortless. Step 6, commit to monotasking. Focus on one thing at a time. Resist that urge to juggle multiple things at once.
In today's world, that sounds incredibly challenging. But how does monotasking specifically help with flow?
Monotasking is essential because it lets you direct all your mental energy toward that one point of focus. No more distractions of multitasking. Fully immerse yourself in the present task. Step 7, choose a challenge that stretches you but doesn't overwhelm.
Sounds familiar, that sweet spot between boredom and frustration.
Right. Too easy, you get bored. Too hard, frustration sets in. Flow lives in that balance where your skills are fully engaged. Step 8 stresses the importance of being well-rested, relaxed, and alert, prepared on every level, physically, mentally, emotionally, ready to enter that flow state.
So self-care and managing stress are prerequisites.
Absolutely. Flow needs energy and focus. When you're tired or stressed, it's tough to reach that deep immersion. Enough sleep, stress management techniques, doing things that rejuvenate you are all essential. Step 9 introduces the flow time technique, a different approach to managing time.
I'm intrigued. How is this different from popular methods like the Pomodoro technique?
Instead of rigid, fixed intervals, flow time encourages working until your focus fades, taking a break, then coming back refreshed. It's working with, not against, your brain's natural energy ebb and flow. Finally, step 10 is about creating a feedback loop, a system to track progress and adjust as needed.
So it's not about blindly following the steps, but being aware of how we're responding and adapting accordingly.
You got it. That feedback loop gives you valuable insights, shows you areas for improvement, helps you refine your approach, keeps you on track. These 10 steps are a solid foundation. But remember, flow is a skill, just like any other. It takes practice, dedication.
It's good to know that even if we struggle at first, consistent effort can lead to improvement.
100%. Flow isn't a magic switch, it's a journey. Self-discovery, experimentation, constant refinement. The more you practice, the better you get at entering and staying in that state, unlocking its power in your work and life. But it's not all or nothing. The book introduces the ideas of microflow and macroflow, recognizing that flow exists on a spectrum.
That's fascinating. Can you break down the difference between these two types of flow? Where do we go from here?
Of course, but that, my friend, we will save for our next segment.
Okay, that cliffhanger about microflow and macroflow, it's like There are levels to this flow game.
Exactly. Imagine this. You're working on a project, but you're at a busy cafe. Music's playing, people are talking, that coffee aroma's in the air. Not exactly a Zen temple for focus.
You're definitely not going to reach that monk-like state of pure serenity there.
Right. But you can still access a level of flow, what Zahariades calls microflow. It's reaching that flow state even when things aren't perfect. You're not totally immersed, but your engagement and focus are heightened.
Finding those pockets of focus amidst the chaos. How does that compare to macroflow?
Macroflow is that full-blown experience, complete absorption, you lose track of time, become one with the activity, peak performance, creativity, the holy grail of flow. To get there takes more deliberate effort, setting up those ideal conditions, minimizing distractions.
Different gears for different situations. Microflow when you need to push through despite distractions, and macroflow when you can truly dedicate yourself to deep work.
Perfect analogy. It's about understanding that flow isn't all or nothing, it's a spectrum. And the great thing is, we can learn to navigate it, adapt our strategies. Let's say you've hit that flow sweet spot, micro or macro. How do we make it last? Zahariades has some great techniques for prolonging those flow states.
Tell me everything. Once you've felt that flow magic, you want to hold on to as long as possible.
Managing boredom is key. If a task gets repetitive, introduce new challenge. Make it more engaging. Spice things up a bit.
Keeping things fresh and stimulating, even for routine tasks.
Exactly. Sound is another powerful tool. Try different types of music or ambient noise. It can enhance focus and help with flow.
This is interesting. I've heard about that Mozart effect and white noise for concentration. Is there a particular sound that works best?
It really depends on the person. Some people find classical music calming and great for deep thinking. Others prefer the rhythm of electronic music. The key is to find what works for you, what creates that auditory environment that supports your flow state.
Another piece of that personalization puzzle, figuring out what works best for you. Any other tips for staying in the zone?
Of course. Clear goals, a well-defined purpose for the task, those really help with maintaining flow. They give you that direction, that motivation, reminding you why you're doing this.
Like a compass guiding you through that flow experience.
Yeah.
What about breaks? Don't those disrupt the flow state?
Actually, breaks are essential for keeping the flow going. It's not about pushing yourself till you burn out. It's about knowing when your energy is dipping and stepping back to recharge.
Working with our natural energy cycles, not against them.
Exactly. Short breaks can clear your head, prevent burnout, so you can return to the task with renewed focus. We do need to approach flow with a balanced perspective, though. Like anything powerful, there can be a downside.
This is where it gets really intriguing. Tell me more about this less discussed aspect of flow.
Zahariades warns us to be mindful of the potential risks, especially if flow becomes excessive or unbalanced. One concern is addiction. Flow is so immersive, so rewarding that some people might chase it compulsively, neglecting other important parts of their lives.
It makes sense. Like anything that gives you pleasure or escape, it can become a problem if you don't have healthy boundaries.
Exactly. Distorted time perception is another potential trap. In deep flow, you lose track of time, which can be good sometimes, but not always. Imagine missing an important appointment because you were so engrossed in a project that hours flew by.
Ouch. Not the kind of flow experience I want to have.
Yeah.
Are there other risks we should be aware of?
Social isolation is another one. Flow requires some focus and solitude, but spending too much time in that state can lead to neglecting relationships and responsibilities. Finding that balance between those solitary pursuits and engaging with the world is important.
So how do we minimize those risks? Is it enough to just be aware of them, or are there specific things we can do?
Mindfulness practices are super helpful here. Building self-awareness, noticing when flow is becoming too much or harmful allows you to adjust. It's about being present, paying attention to your thoughts, feelings, actions, and making conscious choices for your well-being, like an internal compass guiding you toward a healthy relationship with flow. Speaking of practices, remember those bonus exercises we talked about earlier? Let's explore some that are really good for unlocking flow.
Absolutely. I'm ready to dive into those tools and see how we can apply them.
Let's start with mindful action observation. It encourages bringing conscious awareness to your actions, breaking free from autopilot. Pick an everyday activity like brushing your teeth or making a meal.
Being present in even those mundane tasks, not just going through the motions mindlessly.
Right. The key is paying attention to every detail, the sensations, the movements, the thoughts. By observing ourselves like this, we understand our habits and patterns better, and then we can tweak them to encourage flow.
Like becoming a scientist, studying our own behavior.
Precisely. Another exercise is reading long-form content slowly. We're so used to information snippets in this digital age, we've lost the ability to focus for extended periods.
I can relate to that. I find myself skimming articles, jumping between tabs all the time.
This exercise is about slowing down, savoring the words, really absorbing the ideas. Choose a long article, a book chapter, find a quiet spot, and immerse yourself in the text. No skimming or scanning, just focus on understanding it fully.
Retraining our brains to focus deeply, building that mental muscle for sustained flow.
Exactly. This strengthens your attention span, improves comprehension, cultivates that deep focus you need for flow.
Adding that to my to-do list. What other exercises are there?
Let's try brainstorming out-of-the-box solutions. This one's all about flexing those creative muscles, challenging conventional thinking. Think of a problem you're facing, personal or professional.
Got one. What's next?
Set a timer for 10 minutes and brainstorm as many solutions as you can. Don't worry if they sound wild or impractical. The goal is to break free from those usual thought patterns to explore new territory.
Embracing that playful, experimental mindset instead of getting stuck on practicality or feasibility.
You got it. This not only sparks creativity, but it brings in that sense of playfulness, experimentation. Those are qualities that go hand in hand with flow. Remember, these exercises are just the beginning. Zahariades offers tons of other activities and techniques. The important thing is finding what works for you and making it part of your routine.
I'm seeing a pattern here: experimentation, personalization, finding what works for you. These are core principles for unlocking and maximizing flow.
Absolutely. Flow isn't one size fits all. It's a journey of self-discovery. Before we wrap up this section, let's recap those 10 key insights from our flow deep dive, just to solidify them.
Great idea. A little refresher never hurts.
First, flow is total mental absorption, not just productivity. It's a state of deep engagement and focus that leads to better performance, creativity, and fulfillment.
Right. It's experiencing that effortless action and complete immersion in the task.
Second, the benefits of flow go way beyond just getting things done. It can boost creativity, speed up learning, increase happiness, cultivate positive stress, foster emotional control, and even increase self-awareness.
Wow. Sounds like flow can positively impact every aspect of our lives.
Definitely. Third, and this is important, flow can be experienced in any part of life, not just specific tasks or jobs.
Whether it's a complex project or a hobby, we can tap into this powerful state of mind.
Precisely. Fourth, fear, in all its forms, is a major flow blocker. Managing that fear, developing that sense of self-efficacy, those are crucial for unlocking flow.
It's not just external factors then, it's about conquering those inner demons holding us back.
Exactly. Fifth, remember those 4 flow trigger categories: cognitive, environmental, creative, and social. Experiment and find what works best for you.
Understanding there's no single approach, being willing to try different strategies to see what triggers our flow.
Sixth, be mindful of flow's worst enemies: distractions, multitasking, self-doubt, and perfectionism, and come up with strategies to deal with them effectively.
So it's a two-pronged approach, cultivating the right conditions for flow while also eliminating those obstacles that hinder it.
Precisely. Seventh, flow is a skill you can develop. Use the 10 steps outlined in Damon Zahariades' book to create your own action plan.
It's encouraging to hear that even if we struggle with flow at the beginning, consistent effort and the right approach can lead to improvement.
Absolutely. Eighth, remember flow exists on a spectrum, from microflow to macroflow. Use both to your advantage.
So we can experience flow even when things aren't perfect, but we can also aim for those peak immersive experiences when we have the chance.
Ninth, you can extend those flow states with strategies like managing boredom, trying different sounds, setting clear goals, and taking those well-timed breaks.
Like we're putting together a toolkit for maximizing our flow with different techniques and strategies.
Precisely. And 10th, remember that flow can have a dark side, like addiction and distorted perception. Mindfulness practices can help counteract those.
Approaching flow with balance and mindfulness then, being aware of both its amazing benefits and those potential downsides.
You've got it. Now, with all these insights, let's move on to the final section, where we explore what this means for you, the listener, and how to bring these principles into your everyday life.
We've explored flow, all its ins and outs, the good, the bad, even some exercises. But how does this all translate into action for our listeners? Moving beyond theory, how do we actually use these ideas?
Great question. That's the beauty of flow, is applicable. Not some concept for elite athletes or artists. It's for everyone, no matter your job, interests, background.
Not about being a productivity machine, but enhancing how we work, working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. Think about what you enjoy, the things that make you lose track of time. Writing, designing, coding, music, a great conversation, even gardening. Flow can amplify that, take it to a whole other level.
Like discovering a hidden superpower.
Love that. Flow helps us be our best, tap into potential that we might not have known we had.
What can our listeners actually do to unlock that potential? Where do they start?
Start by thinking about your own experiences. When have you felt most engaged, focused, full of energy? What makes you lose track of time? Find those moments, they hold clues about what naturally creates flow for you.
Paying attention to those times when we've already felt flow, even if we didn't call it that.
Yes. Once you've found those activities, look for common threads. The environment, the challenge level, your mindset, distractions. Knowing this helps you recreate those conditions, intentionally cultivate flow in other areas.
Like reverse engineering our flow moments to see what makes them work.
Right. Remember those 10 steps. Don't feel you have to do them all at once. Pick one or two that resonate and experiment. Maybe it's that pre-flow routine, figuring out your peak energy times, or making a distraction-free zone. Small changes can have a big impact.
It's good to know we don't have to change everything to feel the benefits of flow.
Not at all. Make gradual changes, changes that fit you. And remember, flow's a skill. It takes practice. Don't get discouraged if those peak flow states don't happen instantly. Be patient, experiment, and enjoy those small wins along the way.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Perfectly said. Enjoy the process, stay curious, have fun with it. You never know what you'll achieve when you tap into flow. The possibilities are endless.
A great way to end. Let's do a quick recap of those 10 key insights. Make sure they stick with our listeners.
Love it. Repetition helps.
Number 1, flow is total mental absorption. It's not just about productivity. It's a state of deep engagement and focus that leads to better performance, creativity, and fulfillment.
Number 2, the benefits go beyond getting things done. Flow can boost creativity, make learning faster, increase happiness, help you manage stress, gain emotional control, even become more self-aware.
Number 3, flow can happen anywhere in life, not just in specific tasks or jobs.
Number 4, fear, in all its forms, is a huge blocker. Managing fear and building self-confidence are crucial for flow.
Number 5, there are 4 categories of flow triggers: cognitive, environmental, creative, social. Experiment to find what works best for you.
Number 6, watch out for flow's enemies. Distractions, multitasking, self-doubt, perfectionism. Have strategies to combat those.
Number 7, flow is a skill you can develop. Use those 10 steps we talked about from Zahariades' book to make your own personalized plan.
Number 8, flow is a spectrum. Microflow and macroflow. Make use of both.
Number 9, you can make those flow states last longer. Manage boredom, try out different sounds, set clear goals, and take well-timed breaks.
And lastly, number 10, be aware that flow has a potential downside. Addiction, distorted perception. Mindfulness practices can help with those.
There you have it. 10 powerful insights to help you unlock flow.
We hope this has been helpful and inspiring.
Go out there, experiment, and see what incredible potential you can find within yourselves.
Until next time, may your days be full of flow.